She uses board games to bring people together, especially people of different generations, because she saw that there was a need for quality living. She also believed that older adults would appreciate being at work despite having retired from official work. Many of her businesses and initiatives are related to seniors and elderly people. In her country, the aging population is rather small at 6 to 7%, but she knows the day will come when her initiatives will truly be indispensable. And she is starting right now. Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Good. I'm also an entrepreneur, author, marketer, storyteller, and connector. Each season, I feature Asian women entrepreneurs who are open enough to talk about their businesses and lives. I do this because I believe it is time that Asian women have a platform for their voices to be heard. Join me as I uncover diverse experiences, knowledge, and wisdom that will help you strategize and grow your own business, no matter where you are or what stage you are at now. These are real conversations with everyday women in business across Asia. This episode is brought to you by my company, Redbox Studio. Today's episode is with an entrepreneur from Mongolia, Uyanga Batzogs, who is the founder and executive director of Quality Life. Our conversation began at a micro level, talking about her businesses and non-profit organization for seniors and older adults. But we also touched on how her country's transition from communism to democracy opened up a need for self-sustenance through entrepreneurship. It used to be that the government took care of you, but Mongolians woke up to the day when they didn't have guaranteed jobs, and in her own words, from having very little to having nothing at all. It threw everyone into the deep end, and everyone had to figure something out. There was so much uncertainty about the future, and Uyanga at the time was still a teenager. Today's episode is enlightening in so many ways, so enjoy the episode. Oh, and welcome to Womenpreneur Asia, Uyanga.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Krista.
Am I pronouncing your name right? How would you say it?
So in Mongolian, it's Uyanga, but in America, I call it Uyanga, just to make it a little easier to pronounce. So either way is good. So
where are you today?
So I'm today actually in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's almost 6 p.m. on a Friday night. Really wonderful day. It's really nice day. I think in degree wise, maybe about 28 Celsius or something like that. It's another beautiful day in Hawaii.
Uyanga, let's start with where you are right now. Why are you in Hawaii?
Right. So I'm a lifelong learner. So I am basically in my final semester of finishing my PhD study at the University of Hawaii. So close to my cultural background, I'm very nomadic. Every 5 to 7 years, I move between either Mongolia and the US. So right now I'm in US finishing up my school, hopefully the final school. But never final learning, but I love to learn. I like to learn new things and new initiatives. And the reason I came to Hawaii was to learn about how to start services for older adults, because in Mongolia, our older adult population is relatively small, but it's growing. And Hawaii was a perfect place to learn, because in Hawaii, actually, people within the US, they live the longest. So this was the best place to learn about gerontology, or the study of older adults. So I'm here to learn, and I am continuing to learn. But yes, this is my 4th year of learning about gerontology at the University of Hawaii.
That is interesting, because I feel that in Hawaii itself, they really have a lot of respect for their elders.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So it's Hawaii is majority are Asians, actually. So a lot of people originally a long time ago came from Japan, from China, and other countries, Philippines. So a lot of them have a rich cultural Asian background. And of course, we have the Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders here too. But it's a really great place where it's... I feel like I'm not a foreigner at all, even though I'm from Mongolia. I feel really welcome here, and I feel it's very similar culture. We're respecting the older people, and like in Mongolia, we also call strangers auntie and uncles when we're just addressing them. Same culture in Hawaii. Even if you are at the gas station or 7-Eleven, if you're referring to somebody, it's usually say, hey, auntie or uncle, kind of like that. So similar. similar culture, I would say. So,
And besides your learning and studying
uh-huh,
and being curious about life,
uh-huh.
tell me a bit about your life before you went to Hawaii.
Yeah. So, just to go back a little bit, I actually did my bachelor's in Seattle area in America. Went back to Mongolia for 5 years, then came back to Hawaii for another 7 years to do my master's plus some work in Hawaii. Went back to Mongolia for 7 years, and then finally came. So the last 7 years before coming here, I was in Mongolia. I was a CEO of a medical equipment distribution company called Proliance. So it is, for relatively, growing company, about 40 full-time staff. And we did medical equipment distribution for state and private hospitals, mostly laboratory equipment and reagent sale. But we also had a small retail pharmacy store where we, buy things from within the country or import products from Japan. So we had that business. And we also did a small new business, right? Like a couple of years before I left to Hawaii, was to start distributing cleaning materials for commercial laundry and, supplies for, commercial cleaning supplies. And then we also piloted a couple of new business just to test out that included a laundry business where we served hotels, because we were used to having every hotel doing their own laundry. And we are one of the first companies to launch a small scale commercial laundry where we would, bring in, linen from, hospitality industry to, do their laundry for them. But this was like a social entrepreneurship project where we also wanted to do that business, but also hire older adults. I'm very, very passionate about older adults. It's one area personally connected because my grandparents, I'm very close to them. And even though average life expectancy is pretty short in Mongolia, my grandparents actually living still a long and good life. And I wanted to explore that as also a business opportunity, plus also I'm very personally passionate about being and supporting and also learning with older adults. So those are things I've been doing the last 7 years. But the last 2 years is launching a couple of new businesses and new projects to see if it's a sustainable business yet have a social impact.
So it seems to me that you're pretty entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I think so. But I think to do that also, having that solid business on the side allowed me to do that. The medical equipment distribution company was sustainable. It was on its feet, already running, so that it allowed us to explore other opportunities. So I think having that, the people, I didn't start the Proliance company, somebody else started it, and I joined the company, about 4 years into the operation, and then I was able to grow with the company and help to expand. But then that's when it came, okay, what new opportunities do we have? What can we do? And so, so I would say having that solid, business running already helped me to kind of be entrepreneur as well.
So when you were running the medical equipment company, what were some of the things that you saw happening in Mongolia for you to even do even more?
Yeah, so I think, Mongolian healthcare industry was growing, but it was, relied a lot on state fund, because our majority of almost 70% of our business came from state hospitals. Sometimes they have funding, sometimes they don't have funding. And so the business was, stable, but not, growing as much as we would like without getting into illegal things or the bribery situation. So that was difficult. And I wanted to look at what other opportunities do we have that's not involving state funding or whenever tender or bidding process happens. So that's what allowed us to kind of look into that, commercial cleaning supply business a little bit, and doing the little bit of pharmacy, importing, more consumer products instead of just servicing the hospitals. And then I think that, me being in Hawaii and looking at the older adult population more on a just observant, person, I saw that what services were available already in Hawaii, and in Mongolia, they did not exist at that time. So that helped me also to kind of look, okay, there might be an opportunity for Mongolian market as well, even though it's a very small scale.
All your businesses are really related to the elders, right? Can I say that?
So I would say that, again, the recent project that I'm focusing the most is older adult related. But I would say what I learned is older adult population, again, within Mongolian context, it's a very small population. Only 6 to 7% of our people are older adults. So to do a business, a model that's sustainable is, it's something to look forward in the future, more in 10 and 20 years. But right now, it's not not enough big market to kind of service on a sustainable basis. So I would say, I put an effort to learn about older adults and what we can do without being, having really a big fee, because at the moment, again, there's not a lot of market where I can sell the services at a reasonable price and attract enough, clients on that, even though there's huge need. We just have, in Mongolia, we just have so many other issues like, healthcare for the younger and children, etc., like that. The focus of older adult services is limited. So timing wise, I'm just preparing for future, but again, I wouldn't say that's the primary business. I do have other things, I was involved in that, again, more on the medical equipment business, the pharmacy business, and things like that.
So right now in Hawaii, are you doing any business?
So I'm actually full-time student, hopefully finishing it. So I also working full-time for Community Health Center. It's a nonprofit organization in Hawaii, and I'm also working there full-time. So I don't have my own business in a way right now, even though I, whenever I have a little bit of time, I do explore small things, and I along with my friends in Mongolia, I helped people to come, for example, from Mongolia to work in Hawaii and to see how that is possible. But with the COVID happening, that project kind of is on hold, but that's something that I'm exploring to see, because we have the human labor in Mongolia. Here in Hawaii, they're having struggles with needing, hiring agricultural workers. So anyway, this is something I would love to explore in the future, but with COVID, everything kind of is on hold. So currently, I would say I'm not running a business, but I do support, running the nonprofit in Mongolia, even from Mongolia, but also the commercial laundry business that my business partner and my other, people who are involved. I still, whenever I can get involved, but not like on an everyday basis now.
So do you have any plans for future business when, the situation is better, or when you get to go back to Mongolia, or when more Mongolians can come over to Hawaii?
Yeah, so I love to start something small and then test it, and then that's my passionate area. So we looking at opening the second small site for the laundry business with the business partner. They have secured the site, but we now need to, secure the funding for the new equipment and scale. And then hopefully, if everything goes well, we would love to start servicing healthcare organizations, because again, we currently service hotels or hospitality industry, but at some point we would like to move to healthcare, where hopefully it's not a cyclical, tourism really impacts the hotel business. So in the summer, we get a lot of business. It's like, we have 3 shifts going on sometimes to operate it. But when there's no tourists and stuff like that, our business goes down significantly. So we hope that, we can look for good, reasonable funding, even maybe through grants, etc., so that we can secure the equipment, so that we can have the second site open sometime when it's the right timing. But yeah, ideally, I would like to be able to use my network Hawaii and in Mongolia to do some more business between Mongolia and Hawaii if possible. But I get more excited about doing the nonprofit part of it, even though I know that I have to still pay bills and I have to do other things. So that's why at the moment, I have a full-time job, and it's a really good fit right now because I'm a student as well. But hopefully, that phase will end in really soon. So in May, I plan to graduate.
So tell us a little bit about the nonprofit side, which I see that you're really passionate about.
Yes. So the good thing is because the Proliance company was looking for opportunity, and my business partner was very supportive of me to looking into new business, which was the how to service older adults. And when we did a small scale, like a market research, we found out that there's a lot of need, but not enough money to pay for it. So that's why we ended up spinning off a nonprofit called Quality Life. So Proliance company, provided opportunity for staffing. So the staff worked part-time for Proliance, got paid, but then they also volunteered at the nonprofit, running the nonprofit, which included senior center, where we had like once a week, we would have a social activities for older adults by partnering with a local government in Mongolia. So that was, again, one of the very new initiatives we did because we didn't have that kind of opportunity. And then to sustain that, because there's no money, we also did a small thing of board game cafe. We partnered with the, coffee shop, and the coffee shop, gets to keep the coffee revenue, and we sold board games, and we also charged a little bit of time for playing at the, at the cafe, so that it generated small enough money to help to run the senior center. So again, I'm very passionate about, starting services, but somehow we had to make money. That's why how that, that helping people to work in Hawaii and all these little projects, we do charge money for the nonprofit. And so that way the nonprofit can do some activities that we don't normally charge money for. But those are the things that I'm very excited to share about. But on the side, we still have to make money to generate funds.
So Quality Life was set up by you,
yes,
when you were still at the medical equipment company.
Correct.
To help the community, right, of seniors, of elders.
Yes.
And how is it now being run with you being in Hawaii?
So we had two initiatives, which was the senior center that was worked for more than 5 years, but then with COVID, we had to stop that because the government would not let us have in-person activities anymore. So that's on hold for now. But the laundry business, where it employs older adult, is still running, where it only employs older adults, and older adults get to be part of the business and contribute their skills. And the owners love the reliable workforce where they show up on time, happy to be working and happy to be getting out of the house and having social connections after retirement. So that initiative is still going really well, and I'm happy with the result and the business owner, even though it's not making a lot of money at the moment because of COVID, but it's not going to bankrupt, which is a good sign. And then on the side, we also do that board game sale, which is still happening online, through Facebook and things like that, little bit. But it is also a new concept because we Mongolians have traditional games, but board game was such a new idea. And actually, I learned board game from one of my East-West Center student when I was in the Changing Faces program that you and I connected with. And that's how I learned. I loved the game, and it was such a great way to socialize, but yet have a mental activity. Games, it's competitive, and it's you're learning something, and it's new. And older adults really loved it. They enjoyed playing all day, learning different games. And then we had to learn some English phrases and words to be able to play because all the instructions are sometimes in English and stuff like that, and people really loved it. So that part, we don't do it in person anymore, but like on a small scale, it's completely run by volunteers. my friends and fellow, students from some even from the University of Hawaii that we got to know each other. Some are East West Center fellows, and some are from people from Proliance that used to work. We all do it on a volunteer basis, and we buy games from either from US or Korea, and then sell it, ship it to Mongolia, and then sell it online just to keep the activity going. And we do organize, if we are allowed to have a small group, we do have intergenerational activities where, older adults, any age, can come together and play games. So that is still going on. Again, after COVID restrictions, especially in the summer, we hope that we can reinstitute it again, because we used to have that on a weekly basis at the cafe shop, running board game cafe, and then also would have a travel during different to rural communities to teach the games to teachers and community leaders and just families, so that they can socialize and have a quality interaction with each other. Because I think one of the challenges, the younger population is also spending a lot of time on the digital devices, and we don't actually interact in person as much. But games is such an amazing thing where, regardless of the age, people enjoy it. So like my daughter, who was, when she was in Mongolia, she was about 6 and 7. But my grandmother, who's over 80, they don't have common things to talk about, but they can play games together. That was the highlight. So it's a similar concept where we hope to use games to bring people together, but at the same time helps to generate a little bit of money to, buy things for the senior center and other things.
When you were talking about that, I was just thinking, what was the culture like in Mongolia before you came up with this concept of bringing games to foster better relationships between different generations? What was the regular pastime, if I could call it that, for people of different generations in Mongolia?
So we are, a small country. Even though we have a huge land, we only have 3 million people, and half of them live in the city of Ulaanbaatar, where I'm from, which is the capital city. So again, it depends on the person, but majority people spend a lot of time visiting their friends and families after work on the weekends, because it is very tight network community where relatives and friends are very visit each other, even though they're co-workers, like they would spend the weekend together, maybe get out of the city a little bit to, if it's not too cold, we like to go out to the outside the city to kind of just to visit the nature and visit some families outside the city. And so it is a very modern city, so there's lots of choices there, so lots of great food and eating out, and just visiting people was my way of spending a lot of time. But board game was some new thing. Again, we do play card games. So you used to play card games a lot, but that was limited. Everybody knew the card game, and it was a great thing. But having that board game concept, having different strategies. There's so many different type of games. Certain people love the fast and quick response games. Some people really like the slow strategic games, and it's just it's just great choices of it. So yeah, I would say it's similar to city life and everywhere. We had, but when I was young, it was a little bit different. Where we used to be a communist country, so we had limited resources, but we didn't know there was limited resource. We thought that was like, this is
like everyone else, right?
Yeah, like everyone else. We all went to school, wore the uniform. Nobody had anything extra or, less wasteful in a way. And we were happy in a way. We were young kids and just happy to even get a ice cream in the summertime because, there was no good refrigeration system in Mongolia. So getting ice cream during summer was a highlight, because we would be able to sell ice cream in the winter time because it's outside so already cold. It's like a natural freezer.
You don't need a fridge.
Yeah, we don't need it. But the summer was like a highlight was getting ice cream during the summer. We would have so long line up to be eating ice cream in the, in the summer, and we enjoyed the ice cream even in the winter. So life was more simple in a way, I would say. Less choices, but I think that also built a strong family network where we used to spend a lot of time with each other. with families and friends.
So I now understand why you were saying that even though you built this business in Mongolia, because of the 3 million population, it's still relatively small compared to other Asian countries, right? Where it's like 30, 40, 50 million.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And like businesses, in order to survive, you have to have a small segment in something, because again, the market is, the one single focusing on one small business, it just, there's not enough market to sustain it for a long time unless you're continually developing new product. But in our case, we were more like a reseller of equipment, detergent, and, so like commercial laundry, things like that.
What were your growing up years like? Because I know you mentioned earlier, you mentioned about your grandparents. So I assume that you were very close to them.
Yes. So during communist time, we went to daycare really early because all mothers were expected to work. So that's one thing that's very different about other countries sometimes, because there was no such thing as working or stay-at-home mom. There was, everyone worked. It was regardless of men or women, everyone worked. So anyway, we all went to daycare when we were young, and then went from daycare to kindergarten to school. And pretty much we were very independent in a way, because our mothers and parents left in the morning to work, and they had 6 days of work. I had a half day on Saturday, and Sunday was off. So as a children, we were responsible for cooking, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our younger ones, and survive pretty much. And then, so to me, that's a big difference in a way. When I have 4 kids, and they are grown, mostly grew in America. So very different in a way that here in America, again, things have changed where lots of things are ready for you in a way, and things are convenient. But in Mongolia, it was not. You had to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and you were responsible for a lot of stuff. So in a way, but of course, that had a good advantage when I decided to leave my country around, when I was a teenager and moving to Hawaii and other countries and stuff like that. Even though I didn't know the culture, I didn't know, even leaving, my country for the first time, I didn't know a lot of things, but, just being able to survive and taking care of myself and being thankful for what you had just was a good, even though life, from when I look back, I would say more simple, not a lot of choices to make and things like that. During the communist time, you were told if you have a good grade, the government give you a good job, and then life was, you just kind of went on that map that was already predetermined for you in a way, because the government decided everything for you. But then the change happened when I was a teenager, where we went from communism to democracy. Right when I was a teenager, that was a little bit hard, because everything I was told that you just have to be an A student, and you're gonna, depending on your score, the government decides what you're gonna do. You're gonna be a doctor, or you're gonna be whatever. It was based on your test score. The government decided where you're gonna work and study. That was the system.
Really?
When I was growing up, that was what I was told. But then when I was just at the end of my high school, that everything changed. It was like nobody now had a secure job like it was. So it was a little bit worrisome period, and I think our country went through that transition. It was a painful transition for a lot of people, especially for men who, dealt with it, adults were having difficulty, and a lot of people went through alcoholism because it was just a huge change, and a lot of people lost their job all of a sudden. The security they thought they had, it just overwhelmingly changed in right away. And I think that had a huge impact on everyone, especially the older people who had to transition from having that guaranteed job, guaranteed everything, but then all of a sudden everything was, now it's on your own kind of thing. So
now you're independent, right?
Yeah, you were independent, but that also meant you had to figure out how to make money for your family and support yourself. So a lot of people had to be entrepreneurs to be able to look, okay, what do we do now? We have no job and no thing, and a lot of people, Mongolians are, I would say, very, that experience taught people to be very adaptive in a way. They have to be quick thinkers to like, okay, now what do we do? Before everything was done, big decisions were done by other people in a way, by the government officials. Now you have to make your own decision, and a lot of people had to leave the country, do some small trades between Russia and China, and do small businesses to be able to generate income for their family.
How did you feel then? Because I know you mentioned that you were a teenager when it all happened, right?
Yes.
So, because as teenagers, we understand a lot more. And yet at the same time, we're not adults yet, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Like that transition period. So you saw and you listened and you saw all these different changes happening in your life and your country. How did you feel?
So it was a very stressful time for me and for every teenager, I think. And, a lot of things just changed over the, very short time. We, from being able to pretty much have a simple life to having pretty much nothing. And we have to, line up for just bread and just very basic meal, because all of a sudden we had, all the thing that was ready for us in a way, manufactured by the government, everything stopped, and we had to, anyway, there had to be food rationing for a little bit and all this. So it was a very stressful time, but that also gave me, I was worried about my future, and they were like, okay, what's going to happen? I was an A student. Now I have no, I have no prospect for,
no reason for your A's. There was no reason for your A's, right?
Exactly. So, but that also really made me think about what is really the meaning of life. Before, everything was just, you were told to do this and this and this, but now nobody was telling me exactly what to do or which school I'm going to do and where I'm going to work. There was no security in any way, but that also led me to explore what is the meaning of life. And that's actually great thing where I ended up with the Christian missionaries who came to Mongolia for the first time, because our government finally opened the border for foreigners to be able to come. And I was, I met with some teachers who were teaching me English, and they were, you get to know them better. And then I used to actually babysit their children, 2 boys, and their lifestyle was just so different, from, what I have observed. And I thought it was just because they were foreigners, that's how they are, that their marriage, how the husband and wife, talk to each other, respect each other, plus how they train their children, discipline children, etc., was just so different. So I thought it was only because they were foreigners in a way. But later found out that no, it had to do with their God. And I, through that experience, observing how life was different for them, and I wanted that life too. So I ended up exploring and going to church. So I'm so grateful and thankful that I actually became a Christian during that process, and that also really opened up my eyes about, okay, life is tough right now, but there's hope, and then some, friends, Christian friends, helped me actually to go to US. Even though they didn't know me well, they contacted other people in the US to see, to say there's a Mongolian teenager girl who would like to go to America, with somebody will be able to help. And then some, people took that offer and helped me to actually come to US to study. So this was a big transition for me, and I'm so grateful that I made that decision when I was a teenager, 17-ish, that I decided that, life has meaning, and I'm here for, good purpose. And that actually is just helped me as far as, what's wrong, what's right. And it just really helped me through all my decisions in life, and with marriage, with kids and careers and businesses and everything. It just has a huge impact in how I see the world and how I make decisions.
Were you, at that point in time, at a 17-year-old teenager, did you specifically tell these missionary friends of yours that I would like to go to America? Or was it something that you kind of figured out along the way? I mean, and then kind of like put in that request somehow?
So this was a time where, again, the missionary people were from Europe, but I also had some American missionaries. And then my girlfriend at that time, she left to US about 6 months before I did, and she was my best friend, and I, seeing different world and seeing something, because we have seen American things, and I have seen American, movies and things like that, and I did really appreciate the choices. The people had a lot of choices. Having job-wise, school-wise, it seemed like there was a lot more choices, and I wanted to study abroad because one of my areas I wanted to, our life, people's living situation was pretty tough, and I wanted to see how we can improve that. And what I noticed when I was in Mongolia was, state, we could not no longer rely on state funding or pensions and things like that. And private sector was only just because of democracy was just opening up. So I wanted to see the private sector a little bit and stuff like this. So I was sharing what I would like to do with the Christian people. And then they, without letting me know, they contacted other people in the US and, shared what I would like to do. And they, it was just, one day, one of my friend, his name is David, he said, Uyanga, pack your luggage. And I'm like, what are you talking? And he said, there's an American family who would like to host you. And I was like, what? So anyway, I am just grateful. This is a lot of people came to Mongolia with a good heart to help us. And I was so thankful that I was one of them that was able to help. So, yeah. But I'm so grateful. I can always go back and forth.
Yeah, but I can see that one decision has also transformed your life.
Yes, it did. Yes.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be now nomadic between countries.
Yeah. So I am, not a lot of people have opportunity to study abroad, especially from Mongolia, just because, tuition in America is very expensive. In America, there are a lot, even though there are a lot of opportunities in America, for Mongolians, it's very limited. So that's why I hope to, whatever I learned here, I'd like to take it back and, share it with others and help as much as I can. But at the same time, go back and forth. It's like, I want to learn something. So the PhD was I want to learn a little bit about older adults, and I don't have any older adult services in Mongolia. So it's time to, study again.
You came to Hawaii to study so that you can prepare for the future.
Yes,
back
that's
in
my
Mongolia.
plan. Yes, that's my passionate, but you always have to balance my family and my passion. There's, I now have 4 kids. My husband and I have 4 kids, and we just have to decide what's best for our family at the moment. But my passion is to be able to still go back and forth. Yes,
and still be that bridge for your people.
Yes. Yeah. And whenever I can, whenever there's Mongolians coming here, I try to be, contact for them and, network for them. And, whenever I can, share my bedroom so that they can stay at the, free place instead of the expensive hotels and stuff like that. So, yeah, I love to have Mongolian visitors. And, it's just one way to, be blessed, but also, be blessing to people.
Now, if you could turn back the clock and knowing what you know now, what would you tell a younger version of you about life?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say I am so proud of myself for making a decision about who I married. To me, that's a big decision that I'm very proud of.
Is he Mongolian?
Yes, he's Mongolian, and and he's been so supportive and loving all these journeys. And I'm more of the, let's do something, let's do this, and let's move and stuff. And that he has always been supportive and just move wherever we decide to move and be supportive. So all the things that I was able to do in Mongolia, in Hawaii, with my friends and stuff like that, he was the back support for doing that. So I think I would be saying that, good job, Uyanga. Yeah, choosing the right man. I think that was a key thing that I'm so proud. Because, I got married when I was young, 20, and he was 21. And we've been happily married for over 25 years. So that's, to me, the biggest something. So for anything that I would maybe think is just, don't worry, because I do worry sometimes, about things, like for right now, for example, that I see what's happening in Mongolia, even in other countries. I do worry a little bit, even though, I'm like, okay, is there anything I can do? But just, I'm just so thankful that I have God in my life that I can, trust Him. But just don't worry. As long as you have a good principle of knowing what's right and what's wrong, something will work out and has been working out. So you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be pretty and skinny and stuff like that. As long as you have a good heart and have a good principle, it's.
And do you have a favorite failure that you learned from?
Favorite failure that you learned from? So I think, when you're doing business, you have to make some decisions, hard decisions, and one of the hardest decisions I had to make was closing one of our pharmacy retail business, because we were doing it for 4 or 5 years and had people working, but with the the facility rent going up, and we just could not sustain the business anymore. And to me, letting 4 or 5 really wonderful staff, after working with them for 4 or 5 years, because the business shut down, was a very, very difficult decision, but I had to make that decision. And so to me, in a way, it was a business, shutting down was a failure. But I think what I learned from it is if you explain the reasons and giving my team members lot ahead of time that this is what's happening, these are the rent costs, and we tried our best to survive for a while, and just really truly explain, giving them lots of heads up and etc. like that. They were very understanding, even though 5 ladies had to, not have an income or job. That was very tough, but thankfully 1 or 2, was able to come back for different roles at our company, but others had to find new jobs. And again, thankfully, all of them in a pretty short time found new job. But to me, that was, I think, shutting down business and letting people not have a job was very difficult. But it worked out where it's like, as long, and we still have great relationship work-wise and personal level. So I think it was a failure at that time, but I think looking back, it's, it's okay that people are adaptable, they're resilient, and having that humbleness to be honest with people and say, this is this fact, this is all we can do, and this is all the support we can provide you after with finding a new job, etc. like that, was okay. So it looking back, it was okay, and they're all doing good, and they have new jobs and new things. So it's good. So I think with every business or personal thing, what it seems to be failure at that time, it's a good learning experience, humbling experience, and then but from it you learn from it. So it's like so I think it's a good thing. I don't think there's anything bad with having a business failure or something like that.
And since we're on that topic, what are you no longer afraid of?
So I think with the when we are growing up, or young and ambitious, we want to find our identity in a way in the community or the business or any group, like who am I, or what do people perceive and of me, or like that. So to me, I'm no longer afraid of that. Okay, was this gonna person like me or not, or will this my decision gonna make be bad, really make a bad impact on the business? I'm no longer that afraid of too much that the decisions I make is gonna be bad, hurtful, things like that, because I learned that as long as you have a good principle in life and have a heart and passion for what you're doing, it's okay. You don't, even if other people don't like the initiative or don't like it or whatever it is, it's okay. It's okay. I don't need to be afraid of that. And I will do what's right for me and what's in my heart.
Great advice. Because I think far too often we're so conscious of what other people think about it.
Right. And we still care, you know, we still do think about it, but not enough that other people do not change who I am anymore, you know, like key decisions I make. I know that it may disappoint other people, but it's no longer, you know, I'm not afraid of it in a way. I'm like, whatever's right for me, or, you know, especially because I have principle from God, I kind of know, you know, what's right, what's wrong. And so that helps a lot.
And what's the craziest thing you've ever done?
I love to travel. And I went to Palau one time, and that was, again, wonderful, you know, opportunity. When I was a student, I went on a small trip to Palau, and I'm not a good swimmer at all. I'm actually pretty afraid of things, but I challenged myself to do snorkeling in Palau. And then when I was looking down, there was you know, what it looked like a shark, but I was like, I don't think there's shark, you know, and there can't be shark. And then, but you know, I saw it. There was not a big one, a small one, but I was like, is that a shark? But maybe not. I don't think it will be taking us to a shark area. But anyway, to me, that's probably the most adventure I did as far as traveling. But then after I got out of the water, they did tell, yes, that it was a baby shark in actual ocean. I'm like, oh my goodness. If I knew it was a shark, I would panic right away. But I was like, is that a shark? Because yeah, so yeah, I would say, and that, just that would be probably something what I remember. But I'm sure I did other crazy things, but yeah, that's what I remember at this point.
Can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you?
Yes. So a lot of ladies have tremendous impact on me, but I want to highlight one person who is Rita Coleman. She is the lady who came from Switzerland with her family to be missionary in Mongolia. And again, she and her husband, as I was sharing, that they were my English teachers, plus I got to babysit their children. So I was able to be part of that family and really see the importance of family relationship and things like that. So, you know, we still keep in touch. I was 16, 17 when I met her, and I was still keep in touch all this life. And she is a big role model to me. She's very hardworking, and even when she was, you know, mother of 2 children, and, you know, taught lots of classes, and she wrote a book, and she was just always busy, but her heart was to help people to learn better Mongolian. So she would, she herself was a Mongolian learner, but she wrote a book on how to learn Mongolian, things like that. And just her, you know, passion to help people, plus being a good mother and wife was something that really impacted my life in many ways. And I keep in touch with her all the time and ask for advice and things like that. So yeah, so that to me, she's great role model. And of course, you know, my mother, and my host mom in America, other lead, you know, the women who are very, very had a big impact in my life. And my mother was, you know, again, working mom, and always had a career, but, you know, still was raising me. And again, my dad passed away when I was pretty young. So she was a single mom, but did a lot of things and, you know, made sure that I was able to study and learn. You know, she supported me whenever I can. And my host mom in America, similar way, she welcomed me as a stranger. And then she and her husband took care of me for, you know, let me stay with her for 1 year as an exchange student, and throughout my life supported me and my children. And again, I still keep in touch with her. You know, she's not my biological mom, but she's my host mom who welcomed me to US. So anyway, those 3 ladies are the biggest role models and inspiration to me. And, you know, different angles, but, you know, they play a key role in my life. And yeah, so those are, I'm so blessed to have all 3 of them. Yeah.
And what about a personal goal that you're currently focused on besides your PhD?
I am. One thing is, I want to do a lot of things, and that's the one of my weakness in a way. Is like I see things and I want to do something and stuff like that. So I think right now at this point is to take care of myself, take care of my family. During COVID, this was a tough for everyone. So I think slowing down, learning to slow down and just focusing in on one area instead of trying to do a lot of things is something I'm learning at this moment. But once, my school is over and my children are all taken care of as far as, as much as we can, I do want to start new services in Mongolia. That's my biggest goal, but I need to get there after I take care of immediate things here. So, I have to be patient. Like if I were single and no children and nothing, I would fly to Mongolia tomorrow. But I have to learn. Okay, there's always a good time, and I have to balance my family and what I would like to do and things like that. So, yeah, my big goal is to start services in Mongolia that doesn't exist there.
And how old are your children?
So I have 4 children ranging from youngest being 10, oldest being 22. So I have 3 daughters and 1 son.
So you're waiting for them to finish school? Or
my older 2 is already finished high school and finished college and stuff. My third one is graduating high school this year, and my youngest is 10 years old. So, so lots of
you
different.
Still have to be there to be a mother, right?
Yes, exactly. So just waiting for a third child to graduate high school so that she decides where to go to college and stuff like that. And my youngest is still pretty easy to she can be nomadic as me at the moment. At her age, she's like, oh sure, getting on the plane anytime. The older kids are a little bit different, but I'm just thankful that I could still be a mother and wife, but it's still do some business on the side and do some things on a hobby that I'm passionate about. So I'm grateful for that. But sometimes I do have to tell myself, it's okay, Uyanga, just take it easy.
Because you got to start so many things, right?
Yes, I just I see that, I'm like, I want to do this. And then it's like, okay, I got to wait. But
all that you want to do is related to the core of your community work. Can I say that?
Yes.
Which is for the elderly, or at least the aging population, soon to be aging population.
Yes, exactly. Yes. To me, the older adults, they have done so much for their family, to their country and work. And then when they do age, unfortunately, at least in this context, the Mongolian context, there's limited support. The families are changing. The family, they're either working overseas, studying overseas, or they have 1 or 2 children or no children or things like that. And, after retirement, people live between 20 to 30 years sometimes. And many people struggle with role loss. They no longer have the spouse, or no longer have a job or title, where opportunity to get them have a social connection, things like that. And, there's lots of change happening, and there's not enough focus and support to help them to live a good, rich and productive life. And so I'm basically preparing for my retirement. I want to be able to, when I retire, I want to be able to socialize, do what I want, and have a full and meaningful life, instead of just, feeling like nobody cares, or feeling lonely, or feeling like, not having financial resources to be able to enjoy, the last part of life on earth.
So I can see where your passion comes from, because you believe, underlying all this, the assumption that, of course, we believe that these days, even if you stop working at 50 or 60, there's still plenty of life left in a person,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So they're not just retired. And the word retirement to me just sounds kind of wrong these days.
Yeah. So the good thing again is, like, if you're owning your business or running your business kind of like that, you don't have to retire. So that's the good thing. And that's what I love about the private business sector is, like, you get to control how long you work and what you work and things like that. A lot of Mongolian older adults used to work for the public sector, where it's a mandatory retirement. It's 50 for women. Sometimes if you have 4 children and more, 55 is the standard age for women to retire, and 60 is for men. And after that, there is no job and there is no, meaningful activities for, so there's a small pension available, but it's not enough to live on. So there's a lot of struggles. But again, what I noticed during COVID is people are very resilient, especially older people. They have gone through many things in the past, even wars and, very difficult times. So they survive, they are very resilient and strong, and they're asset. And that's, in many ways. So we just need to learn how to utilize this wonderful group of people for the, to improving their life, plus also contributing to society, because they have great experience, wisdom, and then, they are no longer have that arrogance or, have to show themselves. So et cetera, like this. So they're more mature. So in a way, I love to work with them and, start services with them together so that they get to live a good and long and productive life.
So finally, Uyanga, where can people find you online if you want to connect with you and find out more about perhaps your research or perhaps some of the services that you're providing in Mongolia?
So we do have a Facebook called Quality Life Club UB. So that's where we focus on the senior center, senior employment, and things like that. Again, because of COVID, we had less activities, but you are welcome to look at our previous postings and just see really happy faces of older adults doing wonderful things at the senior center and things like that. But we also have another Facebook page called Mongolian Board Game Association. So that's another thing where we do with the board game and selling games and training people on how to play games. Those are 2 areas that I actively involved still. And my own Facebook, Uyanga Batzogs. If you want to be friends, you can reach me out, but I don't accept everybody, on the Facebook as friend. I do need to kind of know things like that. So, but soon, my dissertation will be available, hopefully online. Or I've submitted to my school, and they're in the works of publishing it or making it available to other people. So welcome to check out. And my research was called Action Research to Start New Services and Expand Roles for Older Mongolian Adults. So again, the topic is, I wrote over 90-page long document about the case study about how we started this whole process of starting new services and expanding the roles for Mongolia. And I wrote, basically case study of how all these volunteers that I worked with together to start it. Again, as we mentioned, this was not a money generating effort, but it's we learned that even without limited resources, if people can get together, have a same, passion, same goals, it is doable. And we would like for that effort to be available to more other people. And we kind of go through all the steps of processes we went through, lessons we learned, things we would never do again, kind of like that. We wrote a little case study about that. So I'll be, you are welcome to read that when it becomes available online and stuff like that. And I think 2 days ago, I presented at the Malaysian Healthy Aging Conference as well, as just sharing briefly about the work we did in Mongolia. So I'm not a huge social media person myself, but I do Mongolians to keep connected. We do use Facebook a lot. I don't have very active other, social media presence, but, I'm happy to be available through email. And if anybody is interested to contact me, you can contact me with my email address, which is Uyanga, my first name, at hawaii.edu. So welcome to reach out if there's anything. We can exchange great ideas and work together in any project. I would love to, especially if it's involving older adults. I'm in. So, and if you want to do business, a small scale business, especially in Mongolia.
Uyanga, I had a really good conversation with you, and I learned a lot more about Mongolia. I've never personally been there, but I also can understand from what you are telling me that there was this transition in your country, and then you managed to not only transition with that transition, but find your own role in doing what you love best. And to do what you do best, you have to sustain it with a business. And therefore, you have all these other businesses back in Mongolia to provide the resources for you to keep doing more. Right?
Well, thank you, Krista, for having me, and appreciate what you try to do, supporting women in Asia with great ideas and network and advices and lessons learned and failures. And I think that's a great mission, and I wish you the best. And again, thanks for inviting me today. So
thank you. Thank you.
Uyanga and I started talking about her business and non-profit organization, and we eventually came around to talk about Mongolia and that monumental change her country was undergoing when she was a teenager. Yet it was also a serendipity that she met Rita Coleman when she did, and her life changed. I connected with Uyanga because we both had been participants in a women's leadership program from the East West Center in Hawaii. She was in the program much earlier than I was. As alum of the program, I had reached out to her, my ohana as they say in Hawaiian language, which means extended family, to ask about Mongolian entrepreneurs. And that's how we ended up in this episode. Life's little trajectories are so much fun. We're almost at the end of season 4. This is episode 12, and we have episode 13 and a bonus episode for the next 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and get on my email list so I can keep you updated weekly when a new episode airs or when I have news to share. You can sign up for the email list on my website, womenpreneurasia.com. And until then, take care, and I will see you next Friday.